Here's something that might surprise you. Most people in their late 70s wake up around 2 in the morning. Not because something hurts, though that happens too, but because their mind decides that's the perfect time to replay conversations from 40 years ago, remember faces they haven't seen in decades, or wonder about roads not taken. Sound familiar? Most people think life after 75 is about winding down, becoming quieter, mattering less. But if you're living it, you know that's not quite right. What actually happens is different, more complicated, sometimes harder than expected, sometimes surprisingly beautiful. Let me tell you what I mean. One day, you catch yourself at the mirror and pause, just for a second, because the face looking back takes a moment to recognize. It's still you, of course, but it's also someone new, someone who's earned every line, every gray hair, every change. Your body, which carried you faithfully through decades, starts speaking up more often, asking you to slow down, to be gentler, to rest when you need to, not just when it's convenient. But you know what catches most people off guard? It's not the physical changes. It's the empty spaces where people used to be. That friend who could always make you laugh? Gone. The phone that used to interrupt your dinner? Now, it might not ring for days. The holiday table that barely fit everyone? Now there are chairs you can't bring yourself to move. After 75, grief becomes part of your daily life. Not the sobbing in the movies kind, the quiet kind. The kind that sits with you at breakfast, rides along when you run errands, settles in during evening television. Now, you might be thinking this sounds like a sad story about getting old, but here's where it gets interesting. Because alongside all that loss, something unexpected happens. You develop clarity that younger people desperately wish they had. You can finally tell the difference between what matters and what never really did. That argument you had with your neighbor 10 years ago? Doesn't matter. The expensive things you thought you needed? Irrelevant. Proving you're right? Exhausting. What's left standing is surprisingly simple. The people you love, the kindness you showed, the moments of real connection. Think about your daily life now. A cup of coffee in the morning sun becomes something to savor. Birds singing outside your window aren't just noise, they're company. When your grandchild calls or visits or even texts, it's not just nice. It's proof that your life continues beyond you, that what you built matters. All those big moments you used to chase, the promotions, the vacations, the milestones, turns out the real treasures were hiding in the ordinary days all along. Now, if you're watching this and you're past 75, I want you to know something important. Maybe you're watching alone, maybe someone's watching with you. Either way, this next part is for you. If you're enjoying this, I'd be grateful if you'd click the thumbs up button below. It's a small thing, but it helps this message reach other people who might need to hear it. After 75, when you speak, people should listen. Because you've lived through things others only read about in history books. You remember when phones had cords and staying in touch required effort. You've survived economic hardships, wars, losses that would have broken your younger self. You've seen technology change everything, watched your children grow into people you sometimes don't fully understand, adapted to a world that moves faster than it used to. You're not just a person, you're a living connection to the past, a keeper of stories, a reminder of what it means to keep going. But let's be honest about something most people won't say out loud. There are nights when you miss who you used to be. The energetic version of yourself who could work all day and still have plans in the evening. The young parent who could lift children without thinking twice. The person who had a clear purpose every single day. Those versions of you haven't disappeared. They live in old photographs, in songs that take you right back to specific moments, in the smell of certain foods, in memories that feel as real as yesterday. They're still part of you, just transformed, deepened, turned into something that understands things your younger self couldn't have imagined. Here's something that sounds strange, but is absolutely true. Time feels both more precious and somehow less urgent. You might not plan things years in advance anymore, not because you're pessimistic, but because you've learned something profound. Today isn't practice for some future moment. Today is what you have. Today is enough. Today is the destination. After 75, you probably notice that you value different things in conversations. You're less interested in gossip or surface-level chatter. You appreciate when someone really listens, really asks how you are, and waits for the real answer. Silence with someone you care about stops being awkward and becomes comfortable, even meaningful. You've also probably stopped apologizing for things that aren't problems. Needing an afternoon rest? That's wisdom, not weakness. Choosing to stay home instead of attending every event? That's knowing yourself, not being antisocial. Saying no to things that drain you? That's self-respect. You've become more selective about where your energy goes. Not because you're difficult, but because you're clear. You know what feeds your spirit and what depletes it. Something else often happens around this age that's hard to put into words. Whether you're religious or spiritual or neither, many people find a sense of peace they didn't have before. You start noticing small, sacred moments. The way light falls through your window at a certain time of day. A kind word from a stranger at the grocery store. The feeling of a hand holding yours. You realize that trying to control everything was exhausting and impossible. That letting go isn't giving up. It's finding freedom. Real freedom, not the kind you imagined when you were younger. Your relationship with forgiveness changes too. Holding grudges starts feeling like carrying around heavy stones for no reason. You begin forgiving people, not because they necessarily deserve it, but because you deserve peace. You forgive your parents for their mistakes, because you understand now that they were doing their best. You forgive yourself for decisions you regretted for years, because you finally see that everyone stumbles. That's part of being human, not a sign of failure. Even fear changes. The worries that consumed you in earlier decades, what others thought of you, whether you measured up, if you were good enough, they lose their power. Not because you stop caring, but because you've learned that most of what you worried about never happened. And the hard things that did happen, you survived them. You're still here. Here's something important that younger people need to understand. Your family watches you more than you realize. Your children, your grandchildren, even when they seem distracted by their phones or busy with their own lives, they're learning from you. They're watching how you handle difficult days, how you treat others, how you face challenges with grace or humor or quiet strength. They're teaching you something they can't learn any other way. How to age without bitterness, how to lose people and keep loving, how to face uncertainty without losing hope. So, if you're 75 or beyond, hear this clearly. You are not invisible. You are not less important. You are not just waiting for the end. You are living a chapter that has its own beauty, its own purpose, its own profound meaning. Your wisdom matters. Your stories matter. Your presence matters. If this connected with you today, I'd love for you to do something. Leave a comment below sharing one piece of wisdom you'd want younger people to know. Or share one thing you've learned about life after 75 that surprised you. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. And if you know someone who might appreciate this message, maybe someone who's feeling overlooked or struggling with this stage of life, consider sharing this with them. Sometimes just knowing someone else understands can make all the difference. Thank you for spending this time here. Remember, your journey isn't over. Your story is still unfolding. Every day you wake up is another page being written, another chance to notice something beautiful, another opportunity to matter to someone. You're still here, and that means something.